everybody, it's Edie and I'm sitting outside. It's like 70 degrees today. The wind is blowing. I hope it's not too loud. I hope the breeze isn't too loud. Oh my God. Look, can you see? The wind is blowing. Can you see? Oh my God. I love for my hair to blow in the wind. Like, I love for the wind to be that strong that my hair actually blows. Oh my God, it's such a gorgeous day. It's slightly overcast, which means it's not too bright, and the breeze is warm. Today is April. Fucking hell, I've lost days. Anyway, enough about all that, but today's video is an actual spell working that I did several months ago. I haven't really talked a whole lot about my spell work here on YouTube or shared it publicly, but it's something that I'm feeling more comfortable sharing, but not until well after the spells have shown that they have done their job and that the magic has done what it was intended to do. So after I've kind of seen the results and know that my spell is well set in place and that it's doing what it's supposed to do, then I will share some of my spell workings. I'll probably record the video as I'm working the spell, but it won't be released until several months later. So the one that I'm actually gonna share today, excuse me, I did a poll on Facebook, and there are two videos that I recorded several months ago, and they're both just sitting on my computer, just sitting in iMovie waiting to be edited. And I did a poll asking on Facebook which one people would rather see first. So I have two spell videos coming out, a black salt for protection and a pretty intense shut the fuck up spell. So I did the poll on Facebook, and the black salt for protection won for coming out first. So that's the video that you're actually gonna see today. Now, this video was recorded months ago. This was recorded last year, actually, before I ever moved into Dewberry Manor. This was recorded when we were still in our old house with no furniture. My husband was still in Italy. Our stuff was still in Italy. This spell was recorded probably a year ago, now that I think about it. It was either in late February or early March of 2017 when I recorded the video for the black salt for protection. So a little bit of backstory. My sister Vicky and I were going to do some pretty intense magical workings, and we were going to be on the beach at night, and the work that we were doing was pretty fucking intense, and so we wanted an extra potent, extra powerful ring of protection. I, as a rule, don't tend to cast circle, but for this particular spell, we had a ring of protection using the black salt that you'll see the video for. We cast a full circle. There was a dome, there was a circle, there was like, you know, the 4 points, that any form of protection that you could imagine, we had for this working, because it was that intense. It was a working for Vicky, and I was just kind of there as support and lending energy, and you know, just, it was on the beach at night, so rather than her be alone, I was there with her. So I crafted the black salt for protection, and it is the most potent fucking salt ever. Oh my God, even just making it, like, it was burning my nose, like everything was burning, and just, like, no one is gonna wanna come near that shit because it is that fucking powerful. It was not only the actual ingredients, the fucking energy from this black salt is stay the fuck away. Don't come any closer. You are not allowed here. Like, that's the energy in this black salt. It was completely protective. It was a fucking barrier. Nothing was getting through it. So I absolutely love this salt, and I made a huge, well, you can't see, a huge mayonnaise jar of it, because we, like I said, we were still in our house and I had no furniture. I didn't have any of my witchy supplies, so I really just had to use what I had on hand, which happened to be a fucking plastic mayonnaise jar. As a rule, I don't use plastic in any of my magical workings, but you use what you got. And if you're making something substantial, if you're making a large batch of something, sometimes you have to use plastic, and you know, I had to use what I had on hand. So the black salt is extremely protective. I actually have a barrier of it going around the entire property here at Dewberry Manor. I keep some of it in my car. Anytime I feel like I need that extra boost of protection, like really fucking serious protection, I'll put some into a sachet, I'll carry it with me. You could sprinkle a little bit of it into your shoes. You could put some of it into a locket so that you're wearing it. There are 1,000 different recipes out there for black salt. Google it, like a shit ton of recipes will come up. And really, it should be what makes sense to you, and the ingredients should represent protection to you. So, as with everything that I do, use what works for you, fuck the rest. And I would love to know if you use the exact recipe, if you change it, if you use different ingredients in your recipe. Like I said, fucking Google it. You'll find a list of recipes. This is one that I created myself. So, as with pretty much all of my spell work, it may not be traditional. It may not resonate as traditional protection ingredients, but it doesn't fucking matter. It works for me. So do the same thing for yourself. If it doesn't resonate, fuck it, don't use it. Find something that makes sense for you and feels protective to you. So if you stick around, you will see the entire making of the black salt video. You'll see all the ingredients. You see me kind of enchant things, but I don't actually share all of that. I don't share my intent as I'm building the spell, and then I absolutely do not do the magical working on camera. I will build the spell on camera and share those processes and share the ingredients list. I do not share myself enchanting the ingredients, and I do not share the actual enchanting of the spell after it is created. So you will not see me actually enchant the spell itself. You will not see me put the spell into action. But I don't mind sharing the building of the spell. I don't mind sharing the ingredients that I use and things like that. So actually, surprisingly, I hadn't intended for this to kind of happen as quickly as it did, but people have been approaching me about purchasing some of the magical items that I've been creating. And so Vicki and I had actually talked about possibly opening a witchy shop where we create magical items and then sell those items, and then also having like gatherings and some different things of that sort. And we were gonna create a local store here in my area, and we've been looking for a building and things like that, but I hadn't expected the outside world to kind of approach us about that kind of thing, but it has happened. So if you are interested in purchasing any of the magical items that you've seen me create, whether it be the chicken feet, the lucky money rice, the black salt that you'll see here, any of the magical items that you've seen me create, or if you have something that you need a talisman or an amulet or a spell for, and you would like me to create something, I'm totally open to that. So feel free to message me through YouTube, or you can find me on Facebook in Edie's Cosmic Gathering Place. All of the links for the places to reach me are down below. So if you're interested in having me create something like that for you, I'm totally open to it. Just know that it's not gonna be some, oh yeah, sure, I'll put that together for you. I just paint a couple of things, throw some ingredients in a bag and send it to you. That is not, it's gonna be a real spell. Like, it will take time. I will need time to work with you one-on-one and devise what you need and what you want. I will need time to gather the ingredients, to build the spell, to enchant it, to charge it. So it's not a quick turnaround process, just know that. But it will be done right, and it will be pretty fucking powerful. So yeah, I just was not expecting that, but people have started to approach me, and it feels like the thing that we had been planning and the thing that we had been contemplating, this is just like that nod that says, yeah, you should be doing that. So that's a definite possibility in the very near future. So anyway, stick around if you want to see the making of the black salt. I will be releasing the, oh, the wind's picking up again. I hope it's not too loud. Now can you hear the birds? I was waiting for the wind and now the birds. It's such a good day. Anyway, so yeah, the black salt video today, and then probably next week I will release the video for the shut the fuck up spell. So that will be next week's video. So if you've been following along, you know that I don't have all of my household goods with me and I am using whatever resources I have available. So today that means a used mayonnaise container. It has been cleaned, but I haven't cleansed it yet. And you can see there's like some white residue. I did have one of the items for the black salt stored in here. I had some eggshells stored in here and I just poured them out. So that's what this white residue is. But it has been washed. It just hasn't been cleansed yet. So I'm gonna light some Palo Santo and just smudge the container. And I have the Palo Santo up inside so it can smudge inside. Okay. So it has been cleansed. So now this is ready to use. It's not pretty, but it's functional. I'm making a large amount of the black salt, so I could use a pretty jar, even like a peanut butter jar, like a glass jar, but I'm making a lot of this, so this was the best container I had at the time. So now I'm just gonna start adding my ingredients, and the first thing that I wanna add is Mediterranean sea salt. You can use pink Himalayan salt. You can start with black salt. There is a Hawaiian black salt. Oh look, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, but you can use whatever, so you can use regular table salt, whatever salt you have on hand. I like to use the sea salt for stuff like this, and I have a shit ton of it on hand, so that's what I'm gonna use. Now, I'm gonna bless, consecrate, and empower each of my items as I get ready to put them in. So the words will all be the same, just because of what I'm using this black salt for. So I'm going to take a moment and impart the energies. Once it is empowered, I'm going to go ahead and pour it into my jar. And I have a lot of ingredients to add to this, but it's going to be mostly salt. So I have my jar filled probably 3/4 of the way full. It's to here. The next thing I want to add is some charcoal. So I just have some charcoal discs. You can burn them in advance, but I want them to be really black, so I'm not going to burn mine. And they're just the plain charcoal disc that you put raw, loose incense on. And I have a makeshift mortar and pestle. Again, I'm using the resources available at my disposal. Like, you don't have to have fancy schmancy magical tools. Use what you've got. So I'm going to start with 3 charcoal discs, and I'm going to put them in my mortar and pestle and kind of crush them up for the blackness, but charcoal is also good for cleansing as well as protection. So I'm going to take a moment and impart the energy. Once the energies are imparted, I'm just going to use my little, or not. It's fine. So my sister friend Vicky's here and her fucking phone is going off. That's the weird noise you hear in the background. Or you might hear random laughter because I do some stupid shit. And she gets to see all the behind the scenes chaos. So, if you hear random laughter or phones going off, that's what it is. Okay, so I'm not gonna bore you with watching me do this. So now that these little bricks are kind of broken up a little bit, I'm gonna take some time with my mortar and pestle and crush them into powder. All right, that looks pretty good. So now I wanna take the charcoal dust powder, granules, and add it to the add it to the salt. I'm using the resources available, and so I'm using the little stick from some incense to just kind of pour it down in there. Also, I would normally make this in a large bowl, but again, or a cauldron, like I have a cauldron that I make stuff like this in, but I don't have that here with me, so I'm just gonna mix it right up in the jar. But if you can mix it up in a bowl and stir it clockwise as you're adding each ingredient, that's also good too. So now I'm just gonna stir this clockwise to incorporate the charcoal with the salt. And while I'm stirring, I'm putting my energies and my intention into the salt. There we go. So you can see it's not dark black yet, but it's gonna get a little darker as I add more ingredients. So now I'm gonna add some dragon's blood resin. Again, dragon's blood resin. All of the ingredients that I'm adding are for the same purpose. So dragon's blood resin is for protection, banishing, exorcism, those kinds of things. I'm going to add that. And I like to stir after I add every ingredient. Next, I'm going to add some cinnamon, again for protection. Pretty much everything that I'm using is for protection. So I'm just using ground cinnamon. You could also grind a cinnamon stick, but because I had so many other things to grind, I didn't want you guys just watching me grind shit. So I'm using already ground cinnamon that I did not empower. So I'm just going to do that right now. Now I'm just going to mix that in. You can see it's getting darker. And if it's not dark enough for you, you can always add more charcoal. I do things in threes, so I added 3 charcoal discs, but you could add 6 or 9 or just a random number, however many you want to add to get to the color you're looking for. Next, I'm going to add some crushed eggshells. So I just saved my eggshells, washed them out, and then used my mortar and pestle to crush them. So I'm just going to pour those in. Next, I'm going to add some bay leaf. So you can burn these and just add the ash, or you can crumble the actual bay leaf into the black salt. What I'm going to do is write the intention that I want to place, that I want the bay leaf to place into the black salt on each one. So safety, protection, banishing negativity, now you could burn these and put the ash in, or you can just crumple the bay leaf itself. I'm just going to crumple the bay leaf. And again, I normally have a large bowl, so you can just crumble them in your hands, but because I don't want them flying all over the place, I'm just going to do little pinches right over the top of my jar. Next is black pepper, and I just have the large granule black pepper. And you need to make sure you leave room in your jar to stir and then shake it around. Be careful as you're adding these ingredients, because some of them can make you sneeze, they can burn your eyes. So don't be just like stirring all crazy or shaking the jar and then taking the lid off quickly. You want to take the jar off slowly, and you want to let the smoke that comes up, you want to let that kind of dissipate before you put your face right back over your jar. So let this air out in between each ingredient. Next, I'm going to add some sage ash. So I have regular white sage and I have wee sage, and I put a little bit of each of them together and then burned them. So I have the ash here from the 2 different kinds of sage. So the last thing I want to add is some pine seeds. So these are the little seedlings that drop off of a pine tree, and they get long and brown and dried out, and then these are the seeds. So I have some dried ones, but then I also have some little fresh baby ones that are just starting to grow. So I'm going to take 9 of the little baby seed pod thingies and 2 of the fully grown ones that are dried out, and I'm going to dump in the little baby seed pods, and then I'm going to take the dried ones and just rub the seeds off, and it leaves you with like a little stem. So I'm just going to put the little seeds down there. And then I also have some pine ash. I had a pine bough that was dried. There were some dried pieces. Like these are kind of dried out, but they're still green. I had some that were fully brown that I took and burned. So this is ash from the pine boughs. So I'm just going to pour those in. And that's it. I'm going to give it a final stir and a final shake. There you go. You have black salt. Remember, it doesn't have to be this complicated. You can seriously just do the salt and the charcoal and 1 ingredient for protection. So maybe the sage ash or cinnamon or whatever, or just the black pepper. It doesn't have to be complicated. I needed mine to be like supercharged for protection, so I put a lot of shit in mine, but it doesn't have to be. It can be just as powerful with just 1 or 2 ingredients. So there you go, that's your black salt. Now what I'm gonna do is close it up. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna close it up. And, I'm not gonna close it up. I have a small piece of quartz here that I'm going to impart the energies onto and charge. I'm just going to place that right in the center, in the top. Now I'm going to close this up, and I have a candle that I'm going to place on top. So it will sit like this with the candle on top of the jar. And I'm going to carve some runes of protection, or you can write the words, whatever you want your black salt to do. So protection, safety, banishing negativity, whatever. You're going to write it either in runes or just the words around the top of the candle, and then just let the candle burn down. And as the candle burns down, it's going to empower your black salt even more. You could, if you don't need to use it right away, you could put it under the light of a full moon to charge it. If it's on an equinox, you can do it for a full 24-hour period with the balance of light and dark. Or like on Samhain, you can charge it on Samhain night. You know, just you can charge it in other ways to give it an even bigger boost. But if you need to use it right away, it's a good idea to do the candle on top. Remember, if you like what I do here, don't forget to hit the little subscribe button. That way you don't miss anything. And then click the little bell. That way you get the notifications from YouTube that I've uploaded a video. I'm loving this weather. I think I might try to go to the park and walk around a little bit. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you all so much for being here. Remember, you are fierce, you are fabulous, and you are fucking badass. So keep that shit up, and I'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye!